Assisted dying. Is it ethical or not?
Order! Order.
The ayes to the right, 330. The noes to the left, 275.
The ayes to the right, 330. The noes to the left, 275. The ayes have it, and look!
Death is life's only certainty. But what happens when suffering becomes unbearable and the end feels neither natural nor peaceful? The debate over assisted dying, a practice legal in some countries, banned in others, forces us to confront profound questions about autonomy, ethics, and the value of life itself.
Hello everyone, I'm Carl Mello. Today we're diving into a topic that sparked widespread debate, assisted dying. Recently, the United Kingdom's Parliament took a monumental step by voting to legalize assisted dying, reflecting a significant shift in public opinion. As of 2023, statistics show that a whopping 70% of the UK population supports this legislative change. In a landmark vote, members of Parliament for England and Wales favoured a private member's bill by Kim Leadbitter, marking a pivotal moment in end-of-life care discussions. Join us as we explore the implications of this historic decision, examine the global legal landscape, and discuss the ethical and legal challenges surrounding assisted dying. Welcome to the show, Maria Kimmers. I'm delighted to have you join me today to delve deeper into this topic. Thank you for taking the time to be here. To kick things off, could you give us a rundown of how assisted dying laws in the UK have changed over time, especially how people's attitudes have influenced the law?
Certainly, Carl. The history of assisted dying laws in the UK is all about how society's attitudes, ethical debates, and legal changes have shaped things. Back in the day, under common law, any form of assisted dying was considered murder or manslaughter, which was mostly because of religious and moral beliefs. A big step came in 1961 with the Suicide Act, which made it legal to die by suicide in England and Wales. This showed a shift towards people having more control over their lives. But here's the catch: it still made it a crime to help someone else die, and you could get up to 14 years in prison. This law showed the tricky balance between personal freedom and protecting people from being forced to do something they don't want to do. This led to a lot of debates about what the government's role should be in people's lives.
You mentioned the Suicide Act of 1961 made it legal to die by suicide, but it still made it a crime to help someone else do it. How did this law set the stage for more debates, and why did it still have such strict penalties for helping someone else die?
The Suicide Act was a big change because it recognized that people who were trying to take their own lives needed support, not punishment. But the strict penalties for hoping someone else die showed that society was still committed to protecting vulnerable people from being forced to do something they don't want to do. This led to a lot of ethical questions about personal freedom and the government's role in people's lives, which kept getting more and more important as public attitudes changed.
Maria, have you ever wondered how the late 20th century changed the doctor-patient relationship and sparked debates about assisted dying?
Well, It all started in the 1960s and 70s with the rise of movements for individual rights and palliative care. Back then, people started to prioritize patient autonomy, which means giving patients the right to make decisions about their own medical care. This shift was further fueled by the fight for personal autonomy and the hospice movement led by Dame Cicely Saunders. Dame Saunders highlighted the importance of compassionate care for terminally ill patients. Together, these changes transformed the doctor-patient relationship by giving patients more control over their own lives. They also shaped legal and ethical debates about end-of-life decisions, the right to refuse treatment, and the ethics of assisted dying. These debates had become super important, influencing healthcare laws to better reflect people's rights to make their own choices.
In the 1990s, there were some groups that were advocating for assisted dying. How did these groups present their arguments, and were they inspired by any particular ideas or movements?
In the 1990s, the Right to Die movement in the UK, led by the Voluntary Euthanasia Society, later known as Dignity and Dying, wanted to allow doctors to help terminally ill patients and their lives. Despite many debates and failed attempts to change the law, the decade laid the foundation for future legal developments. While the 1990s was a starting point, important legal changes like Lord Duffy's Assisted Dying Bill and high-profile cases like Tony Mickinson's and Diane Pretty's happened later.
Cases like Tony Nicholson's and Diane Pretty's have really challenged the way we think about this whole thing. What made Nicholson's case so special?
Nicholson's case showed the struggle between freedom and the value of life. But he couldn't get legal help to end his life, showed that there were holes in the laws. Even though the courts recognized his pain, they were worried about setting a bad example and didn't change the laws. People were afraid that bad things could happen if the laws were changed. Well, it really highlighted the tricky balance between our right to make our own choices and the sanctity of life. It's a tough one, and it's not easy to find a solution that works for everyone.
Now there's been a lot of talk about public support for assisted dying lately. It means that lawmakers are starting to take notice and are considering making changes to the laws. How might this shift pressure lawmakers, and what barriers remain to legislative changes?
There are still many challenges to overcome. One of the biggest is ethical concerns. We all have to be careful not to let our own biases get in the way of making the right decision. Another challenge is protecting vulnerable people who might not be able to make informed choices. And then there's the whole issue of how to make sure that assisted dying is done safely and legally. Even though people are in favour, the post still has to go through a lot of debate and scrutiny. And there's always the chance that the bill won't pass at any point, so it might not become law even though people want it to.
So what do you think? Where do you see this whole thing going in the future?
It's a complex issue, and there's no easy answer. But I think it's important that we have open and honest conversations about it. We need to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we're making decisions that are in the best interests of everyone involved.
Thanks for this insightful overview.
Thanks.
It's clear this issue is still as tricky as it is important.
Thank you, Carl. It's a pleasure discussing such an important topic.
Now let's delve into the proposed legislation on assisted dying for England and Wales. Stay tuned as we explore this important topic in the following video.
Kim Leadbeater's Assisted Dying Bill aims to provide terminally ill, mentally competent adults with 6 months or less to live with the option to choose assisted dying. However, individuals with disabilities or mental illness are excluded from this right. Eligible individuals must make a clear, settled, and informed decision based on all available options, including palliative care and pain relief. The dying patient's decision must be confirmed at every stage, and they retain the right to change their mind at any time. 2 independent doctors must independently confirm the person's eligibility and voluntary decision, free from coercion. An independent specialist must be consulted if there's any doubt about the person's mental capacity or if the doctor lacks expertise in the terminal illness. No medical practitioner is obligated to engage in the process. If 2 independent doctors agree on the person's eligibility, the application must proceed to the High Court, where the judge must ensure that the law has been correctly followed after speaking with the doctor and consulting anyone else they deem necessary. A reflection period of at least 7 days must elapse between the two medical assessments, followed by a further 14 days after the High Court's decision. Strict protocols must be strictly adhered to for the safe prescribing, transportation, and administration of all medication. The process will be overseen by a trained medical practitioner who will be explicitly prohibited from taking any action to end the person's life. The medication must be self-administered, and unused medication must be removed immediately. The application of the law will be closely monitored, with detailed records of every assisted death collected and published annually. Regular reviews of the law's operation and the availability of palliative care will be conducted, allowing Parliament to scrutinize its impact. The bill introduces new offenses, making it illegal to dishonestly coerce or pressure someone to make a declaration, request assistance, or self-administer medication. Falsifying, destroying, or concealing documentation would also constitute a crime.
Thank you for watching that insightful overview on the proposed legislation for assisted dying in England and Wales. As we move forward, let's discuss the key points and implications brought out in the video and consider how they might impact the UK and beyond. Should individuals facing terminal illnesses or unending pain have the right to choose when and how they die? Or does this practice risk undermining the very sanctity of life? Welcome again to today's discussion on a topic that influences lives, families, and societies, the complex issue of assisted dying. As we navigate the emotions, ethics, and legalities surrounding the sensitive subject, we'll hear diverse perspectives and personal stories that challenge our understanding of life and death. Let's begin by defining what assisted dying entails.
Assisted dying refers to medical practices where a terminally ill, mentally competent adult voluntarily requests medication to end their life. It's distinct from euthanasia, where a doctor administers the drug, versus physician-assisted death, where the patient takes it themselves.
While some regions have legalized this practice, it remains highly controversial worldwide. In the deeply personal debate on assisted dying, voices from medicine, advocacy, and those directly affected speak to the heart of the issue, the right to choose dignity in death.
As a medical professional, I understand the concerns surrounding assisted dying. That's why robust safeguards are essential. These measures ensure decision-making that's thorough, voluntary, and free from external pressures. Before proceeding, patients undergo comprehensive evaluations to confirm their capacity, assess their mental health, and explore palliative care options. A waiting period allows for reflection, preventing impulsive choices. Multiple healthcare professionals review each case, safeguarding against misuse. These protocols protect vulnerable individuals and uphold the integrity of the medical profession, reaffirming our commitment to compassionate, ethical care.
While medical professionals highlight the role of safeguards, advocates like Gunther Schneider bring a personal passion for the fundamental rights to self-determination.
I firmly believe that the right to choose is essential for personal freedom and respect. Every individual should have the freedom to make informed decisions about their own life and death, especially when facing unbearable suffering. Assisted dying gives people the power to control their end-of-life experience, allowing them to die on their own terms, surrounded by loved ones, instead of enduring prolonged pain and loss of dignity. It's about respecting each person's right to decide what a meaningful and dignified death looks like for them. Everyone deserves the option to leave life with compassion, respect, and dignity intact.
For individuals facing terminal illnesses, the debate isn't theoretical, it's a lived reality. Jane Thompson shares her experience with relentless pain and the desire for autonomy at life's end.
I've outlived my prognosis by months. The pain is relentless. I don't want my last memories to be of agony, or my family's. This choice should be mine. You can't save someone who doesn't wish to be saved. I'll speak to my doctor. I owe it to myself and to my family. I won't let pain define me. If this is the way my story ends, let it be on my terms.
I have been astonished by the number of people who have been in touch with me to tell me about their terminally ill loved ones who have starved themselves to death out of desperation, something which takes far longer than you may imagine and is just horrific for everyone involved. And this is currently legal, and doctors are required to assist the patient through this agonising process. How can we allow this, but not a compassionate and humane assisted death?
Beyond statistics and policies, the human toll is profound. Adele Monroe reflects on her friend Sarah's journey, offering a poignant testament to the personal impact of these decisions.
My friend Sarah was a vibrant 58-year-old woman who had spent her life as a teacher, dedicated to her students and community. 3 years prior, she was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. As the disease progressed, her world began to shrink. The vibrant life she once led was overtaken by debilitating pain, frequent hospital visits, and the harsh realities of her terminal diagnosis. Initially, Sarah approached her illness with hope. She underwent aggressive treatments, believing that she could fight through it. However, as time went on, the harsh side effects of chemotherapy began to take their toll: extreme fatigue, nausea, and the loss of her once energetic spirit. What was most difficult for Sarah, though, was the emotional toll of watching her body betray her. She found herself in a constant state of discomfort, and her pain became unbearable. Despite the love and support from her family, Sarah often felt alone in her struggle. It's hard to explain to people who haven't experienced this kind of suffering, she shared with a close friend. There are days when I feel like a ghost in my own body, just waiting for it to fail completely. As her condition deteriorated, Sarah began to contemplate the idea of assisted dying. After doing significant research and reflecting on her own values regarding personal autonomy, she started to believe that she should have the right to choose her own path. I kept thinking about the concept of dying with dignity, she reflected. I wanted to preserve whatever semblance of control I could over my life, even at the end. One evening, Sarah sat down with her family to discuss her thoughts on assisted dying. They were initially taken aback, but eventually began to understand her perspective. We realized that she wasn't asking for an escape, she was asking for relief, her daughter explained. They had lengthy conversations about her wishes and fears, sharing both tears and love. Ultimately, Sarah made the decision to pursue assisted dying when her suffering became unbearable. It wasn't about wanting to die, it was about wanting to end the pain on my terms, she expressed. Those final moments, surrounded by her family, were filled with love and understanding. As she chose to transition peacefully, Sarah felt a sense of calm and closure. I wanted to leave this world with dignity, knowing that my last act was a choice I made. Sarah's story reflects the struggle for personal autonomy in the face of terminal illness. For her, the decision to pursue assisted dying was not just about ending her life. It was about choosing a compassionate exit from an existence filled with insufferable pain. Through her journey, she championed the belief that everyone should have the right to make such deeply personal decisions, advocating for a world where individuals facing terminal illnesses can choose to die with dignity.
These voices converge on a single theme: the importance of compassion, respect, and the right to choose. As the conversation continues, the stories of those affected remain at its core. Yet, the conversation doesn't end there. While the right to choose is compelling, there are significant concerns that need to be addressed. As we transition into the next part, let's consider the ethical dimensions surrounding assisted dying. Pay close attention to how different perspectives highlight the complexities of this issue.
don't believe it is, for these reasons. So let's start at the beginning. The process starts with a conversation between a patient and a medical practitioner, not a doctor necessarily, just a medic of some sort, unspecified at this stage. If the patient tells their ordinary family doctor that they want an assisted death, the doctor is obliged to either explain how it works or to pass them on to someone who'll do it, which is probably what will happen, by the way, I think, Mr. Speaker. The likelihood is that we would see this new branch of medicine spring up, like the medics I met in Canada. I will in a moment. These medics I met in Canada, specialists in assisted death, who personally kill hundreds of patients a year in their special clinics. And if honourable members have a difficulty with the language, then I wonder what they're doing here. This is what we are talking about, and I met doctors for whom this is their profession and their job, which they're proud to do.
But I would recall to the House that in 1969, Parliament voted to abolish the death penalty for murder. Public opinion was actually against this, but MPs believed on a point of principle that the state should not be involved in taking a life. It was a good principle in 1969, and it remains a good principle today.
As a medical professional and surrounded by even more senior medical professionals, we can all say we all miss things when there's tangibles in front of us. The shadow on x-rays, the markers on blood tests. We miss things as professionals when we can actually see them. What evidence will we have, or what security will we have of picking up things that we can't see, like coercion?
Coercion is something that you will have no material evidence of and that you cannot see. People keep saying that this bill can't be amended. Of course, any future government could bring in new clauses. And we can see what happened in Canada, which introduced assisted dying in 2016 for adults with terminal illnesses. In 2021, it was extended to people with no terminal illness and the disabled. And in March 2027, anyone with a serious mental health problem will also be eligible. The House should remember that no single organisation representing the disabled supports this bill.
Would the Honourable Lady give...
I entirely agree with my honourable friend. Robust safeguards for the sick and dying are absolutely vital to protect them from predatory relatives, to protect them from the state, but above all, to protect them from themselves. There will be those who say to themselves they don't want to be a burden. And I can imagine myself saying that in particular circumstances. Others will worry that assets they had hoped to leave for their grandchildren are being eroded by the cost of care. And there will even be a handful who will think they should not be taking up a hospital bed.
As we just heard, opponents of assisted dying raise crucial ethical concerns. They warn of the potential for abuse, particularly among vulnerable populations who may feel pressure to choose death over being a burden to their loved ones. There's also the argument that life, with its inherent value, should be preserved at all costs.
I support the right to assisted dying for those who are suffering intolerably and have no hope of recovery. But it's crucial to address a significant concern: the potential for abuse. The legalization of assisted dying could inadvertently pressure vulnerable individuals, those with disabilities, the elderly, or those experiencing severe emotional distress, into choosing death over life due to societal or familial expectations, no? We can look for it.
Picture this. Yes, an elderly person, they feel like a burden on their family, no? They might think, I'll just do assisted dying, make things easier for everyone. But then, the question is, Are we really respecting their choice? Or are we pushing them into something they don't really want? You see, the line between being kind and forcing someone gets very, very blurry. You see the line between. Furthermore, we must also reflect, yes, on intrinsic value of life. Every person's experience, no matter how painful, contributes to the rich tapestry of human existence. Life, with all its challenges, can still hold meaning, hope, and the potential for change. Rather than providing an exit ramp, we should invest in better palliative care and mental health support, ensuring that no one feels alone in their suffering. Duh?
So, as we are discussing assisted dying, let us be treading wisely, no? We have a responsibility to be protecting the most vulnerable among us, and to be emphasizing the profound value of every life, even when this life feels unbearably heavy.
Personal stories often bring a human element to ethical debates. As you listen to Jessica Jones, think about how family dynamics and emotional support play a role in end-of-life decisions.
Okay, so when my grandmother, who we called Nana, was diagnosed with terminal cancer, our family was thrown into a whirlwind of emotions. The news hit hard, not just because of the illness itself, but because of the uncertainty it brought with it. As a family, we've always been close-knit, sharing the highs and lows of life, but this was a challenge unlike any we've faced. As Nana's illness progressed, we learned about different end-of-life care options, including assisted dying. Even though some family members, they mentioned it all hush-hush, it was some kind of relief button, we quickly figured out palliative care was more our vibe, you know? It just felt right, honoring Nana's story and all, making sure she was comfy and respected till the end, instead of rushing things. Palliative care, it was all Nana, love, warmth, and just being there, no matter what. The team, nurses and doctors, they got what quality of life meant, and they helped us deal with her pain, but they also cared about her feels and her spirit, not just the medical stuff. Okay, so what really got to me during this time was how much our family, totally rallied around Nana. Each of us, took turns staying with her, sharing stories from her past, playing her favorite music, and even cooking her favorite meals, all modified so she could still enjoy them, you know? We filled her room with tons of photographs that spanned decades, little snippets of her life that painted a picture of a vibrant woman who had lived fully and loved deeply, right? There were moments when Nana seemed tired or withdrawn, those genuine expressions of her battle against the illness. Yet we found ways to uplift her spirit. Okay, so one night, we had a little get-together in her room, inviting, just close family to share memories and stuff. As we were reminiscing, Nana's eyes lit up, and she started totally recounting her own stories. The time she and my grandfather danced under the stars, her love for gardening, and how she'd always wanted to travel to Italy. It totally reminded us that, while her body was failing, her mind and spirit were still, very much alive. Throughout this experience, we learned the importance of being present. We made a calendar for family members to take turns sitting with Nana, making sure she was never alone. Even when she wasn't saying anything, just knowing we were there made us feel all peaceful. We'd talk about our feelings, all out in the open. And sometimes we'd cry, and sometimes we'd laugh, but we always made sure we were there for each other, you know? As the days turned into weeks and she started getting worse, we didn't change how we were doing things. We just adjusted and tried to make the best of it, with the time we had left. And one day when she was really not doing well, we all got together and held her hands and told her we loved her and played her favorite song. During those tender moments, we totally understood that the love we shared went way beyond the pain of her being sick. Eventually, Nana just passed away peacefully, with her whole family around her. In the end, the choice to get palliative care instead of assisted dying was a way of saying yes to the life she'd lived and all the love around her. Her passing wasn't a moment of despair, but more a celebration of how close we all were. Through this, we learned that support and love are super powerful when life gets really tough. Even though Nana's not here anymore, the stuff she taught us about being nice, staying close, and bouncing back, totally still part of our family's deal. We went through some super tough times, but we really tried our best to remember her in a way that felt right to us, you know? So, it wasn't just goodbye, but more a reminder that our family's super strong, and that love's the most important thing ever, no matter what.
Jessica's story underscores the profound impact of palliative care, not just for the patient but for the entire family. It's a reminder of the emotional and spiritual dimensions that medical discussions sometimes overlook. To fully grasp the broader implications, it's essential to consider the legal landscape. Jonathan Keller will guide us through how laws shape and are shaped by societal values and medical practices globally.
As we delve into the complex and sensitive topic of assisted dying laws and their far-reaching effects, it's crucial that we consider the diverse legal, ethical, and social aspects that shape these laws across the globe. Different countries have taken different approaches to assisted dying. Some places, like the Netherlands, Belgium, Canada, and certain U.S. states like Oregon, have legalized assisted dying under strict conditions. Canada's Medical Assistance in Dying MAID program, for instance, was expanded in 2021 to include people who aren't terminal. This expansion requires a voluntary request from mentally capable individuals who are suffering unbearably. Similarly, the Netherlands allows euthanasia for both physical and mental suffering, as long as a thorough psychiatric evaluation is done. On the other hand, many countries, especially in Asia and Africa, have made assisted dying illegal because of deep-rooted cultural, religious, or ethical beliefs. The ethical implications of assisted dying laws are complex. They involve balancing the right of patients to make decisions about their own bodies with the importance of respecting the sanctity of life. Advocates for assisted dying argue that people should have the right to die with dignity, while critics worry that it could lead to the devaluation of life. The slippery slope argument often comes up in these discussions, with Canada's decision to include non-terminal cases being seen as a warning that could lead to more people being eligible for assisted dying. To make sure that assisted dying is done fairly and safely, laws are in place that require multiple medical assessments, waiting periods, and witness requirements. However, there are still challenges, especially when it comes to protecting the consent of people who are experiencing cognitive decline or mental health issues. Healthcare professionals also face legal risks if they don't follow the proper procedures. Let's not forget about the social implications of this issue. Vulnerable groups like the elderly and disabled might feel pressured to choose assisted dying because they don't have enough healthcare or support. So we need to make sure palliative care is better, and we need to give people real choices so they don't feel like they have to make a decision they can't take back because they don't have the resources. From a human rights perspective, courts have to find a balance between the right to life and personal freedom. Some courts think assisted dying is just another way to respect people's dignity, while others think the government has a duty to protect everyone's life. These legal debates are still going on. In the medical world, doctors are still torn between the Hippocratic Oath's "do no harm" rule and the idea of helping people die peacefully. Some doctors support assisted dying under certain conditions, while others don't. As society changes and technology gets better at predicting how long people will live, the laws about assisted dying are likely to change too. We might see more cases of people traveling to other countries to die, and we might see computers helping doctors decide if someone is eligible for assisted dying. I think we should legalize assisted dying with some rules, but we also need to make sure that people have access to good palliative care. We need to talk to doctors, nurses, ethicists, and other experts to find a balance between individual rights and the needs of society. As we move forward, our laws need to change to protect the vulnerable while respecting people's choices.
Jonathan highlights the balance between individual autonomy and societal responsibility. His points about legal safeguards and potential pressures on vulnerable groups raise important questions about implementation.
Heard in recent days. We all know the NHS is under significant duress and just can't do what it should. Social care fragmented and costly, and palliative care significantly underfunded and inequitable. It is a mess. We must give my right honourable friend, the Health Secretary, after Lord Darcy's devastating report, the opportunity to reset health and care. I believe it is what we on these benches were elected to do. Over 70% of the public say they want a commission on palliative and end-of-life care before we consider assisted dying. Other polls agree. Plans for a commission are well advanced. I'm happy to give way.
The Honourable Lady, I agree with her entirely. The way forward should be through better palliative care, not through assisted suicide. The bill does not address the needs of children. Would she also recognise that we need better palliative care for children as well as for adults?
Completely agree with the Honourable Gentleman. He makes a pertinent point.
If this is such a good thing to alleviate pain and suffering, a right that we should be proud to pass, why are we denying it to children? If it is a positive, why are we denying it to children? We're discussing the specifics.
Now I want to come on to the point about palliative care. This is really, really important. Now the message from the sector, from patients, and from their families is crystal clear. It is not good enough, and we must do better.
Before we conclude, let's explore what palliative care entails and how it offers an alternative approach. These clips will provide insights in the philosophy and practice of palliative care.
Palliative care is a holistic approach to medical treatment that focuses on providing relief from the symptoms and stress of serious illness. Its primary goal is to improve the quality of life for both patients and their families. First, palliative care offers symptom management. Patients with serious illnesses often experience pain, nausea, fatigue, and other distressing symptoms. Palliative care specialists work tirelessly to alleviate these symptoms, ensuring that patients can live as comfortably as possible, regardless of the stage of their illness. Second, it emphasizes a patient-centered approach. Palliative care prioritizes the individual needs, preferences, and values of the patient. This means that care plans are tailored to address what matters most to each person, leading to more personalized and effective treatment. Third, palliative care provides psychological and emotional support. Serious illness can take an emotional toll, not just on patients, but also on their families. Palliative care teams often include psychologists and social workers who provide counseling and support, helping patients and families cope with the emotional aspects of illness. Fourth, it enhances communication. Palliative care encourages open conversations about diagnosis, treatment options, and goals of care. This collaborative communication fosters a better understanding between patients, families, and healthcare providers, and helps in making informed decisions. Fifth, palliative care can be integrated alongside curative treatment. It is important to note that palliative care is not limited to end-of-life care. Patients can receive palliative care at any stage of illness while pursuing curative treatments. This can improve overall outcomes and satisfaction with care. Lastly, palliative care supports families. Family members often bear the burden of caregiving and emotional strain. Palliative care recognizes the family as part of the care team, offering them guidance, respite, and resources to navigate their loved one's journey. In summary, palliative care plays a crucial role in enhancing quality of life, managing symptoms, fostering communication, and providing emotional support for patients and their families. It's a compassionate approach that recognizes the importance of not just treating an illness, but caring for the whole person.
As we've seen, assisted dying is more than a legal or medical issue. It's deeply personal, ethical, and societal. The debate is multifaceted, involving autonomy, dignity, protection of the vulnerable, and the role of medical professionals. Ultimately, it challenges us to reflect on what it means to live and die with dignity. As a healthy individual, I lack the personal experience to fully comprehend the profound suffering endured by individuals with terminal illnesses. While I can attest to the excruciating pain I experienced during a severe toothache at 3 o'clock in the morning, I acknowledge that the pain of a serious illness may be significantly more intense. Despite my personal opposition to assisted suicide, I do not hold judgment with those who support it. As human beings with inherent free will, we possess the autonomy to make decisions about our own lives, provided that we adhere to legal boundaries and refrain from causing harm to others. Personally, I hold belief in a supreme God, the creator of all existence and an afterlife. I respect individuals who hold differing beliefs and do not intend to impose my conviction upon others. Ultimately, the consequences of our actions in this life will be held accountable by God, regardless of our religious beliefs. As the creator of the world, God brought us into existence and determined the timing and manner of our departure. It is not within our control to end our own lives. Individuals are free to hold diverse beliefs, and they may question the presence of God in situations of suffering and pain. It is important to recognize that we reside in a world plagued by sin, corruption, sickness, disease, and death. I believe in the existence of both good and evil, as well as the presence of a divine being and a malevolent entity named the devil. Individuals may question the veracity of God, suggesting that he is merely a human construct. Approximately 36 years ago, I experienced a supernatural encounter in which God communicated with me in an audible voice. This experience profoundly transformed my life and unequivocally strengthened my belief in the divine. I'm confident in sharing this experience with you. Seeking solace through suicide is not an escape from suffering. It is akin to jumping from one source of pain into another. The devil knows that when one closes their eyes and opens them in afterlife, they become his possession. Your suffering will not cease, it will only intensify and endure eternally. God does not desire eternal damnation. One argument posits that we lack knowledge of God's will because we do not comprehend His mind. However, we gain insight into His nature through His Word and the Holy Spirit who dwells within every genuine believer. The Bible proclaims that we are created in His image and prohibits us from taking a life, including our own. I am unaware of your personal struggles and do not seek personal gain from this intervention. My sole motivation is to convey God's love, grace, and the fact that He does not want us to endure eternal suffering. Suicide is a deception perpetuated by the devil. It will not alleviate your circumstances. It will only exacerbate them. I am unable to provide a definitive solution, but I encourage you to pray to God if you happen to watch this video while ill or contemplating suicide. Seek His divine assistance and ask Him to reveal Himself to you in a profound manner. If you watch this video while in pain and desperation, express your plea to God. Say, God, please help me and reveal yourself to me. I am desperate and in pain. I am uncertain of your existence, but if you are real, please assist me so that I may believe in you. I have no other recourse and I am at a loss. Ending my own life may seem like a solution, but I implore you to help me, as I am hesitant to be mistaken. The unbearable pain is overwhelming. May God meet you where you are in your situation and circumstances, guiding you towards making the right decision. With unwavering faith, I extend my prayers for your well-being, healing, protection, and blessings. God bless you.